Good morning, wonderful, amazing, fantastic algebra students. Today is Wednesday, March 18th, and I'm going to be reviewing problems from the topic of graphing and writing inequalities. That is the assignment from March 18th in your packet, or your assignment that is due on March 18th on Khan Academy. So let's start with the assignment from the packet. We're going to start by looking at problem 4. I did notice while reviewing this assignment that I made all of the circles closed on the inequalities, so we'll be sure to determine or clearly articulate when they're supposed to be open. So if we start with problem 4 on the assignment, we see we have this closed circle at 4. So because we have this closed circle at 4, we need a line underneath our inequality. For those who don't remember, this symbol is called an inequality when, I'm backwards, so I gotta be careful the way I'm saying it. When the inequality is opening to the right, it is a less than symbol. When it's opening, so this one, for example, is opening, okay, can I match it up? Yes. This one, for example, is opening to the right, so it's a less than symbol in regards to the variable. When it opens in the opposite direction, like number 6, that is called a greater than symbol. So if we look at our graph first, we see we have a closed circle at 4, so that means we're going to include this value 4, and that's why we have the line underneath our inequality. The line denotes it can be equal to that value. Again, that's because of the closed circle. And we can see that the arrow is going to the left on the number line. So we are going toward numbers that are less than 4. Left means we're going less than. All these numbers to the left are less than 4. So our inequality for this graph is going to be x is less than or equal to 4. Again, this line is underneath this inequality because of this closed circle. Let's try example 6, and let's look at example 6. So example 6, again, we have another closed circle, so that means that we can include this value of 5, which is the reason why we have this line underneath our inequality. Again, our inequality is opening in the other direction. Now it's opening in this direction, so that means the variable is greater than the number. So this would be read x is greater than or equal to 5. Again, we know it's greater than because our graph is showing numbers to the right of 5. It is showing numbers greater than 5. So that's how we got that inequality. X is greater than or equal to 5. So if there would have been an example, they're all closed circles, so they should all have lines underneath them. But if there would have been any open circles, so there'd just be an opening here, it wouldn't be shaded in, there would be no line underneath the inequality. But for our examples on this particular assignment, all the circles are closed, so all of the inequalities should have lines underneath them. Let us scroll down and look at number 10. So problem 10, okay, problem 10, we are given the inequality and asked to graph it. So we have this inequality here, n is greater than -3. Again, as I just said, when there is no line underneath the inequality, that means we're going to have an open circle because we are not including that value -3. We're including the values that are very close to it and are greater than n, but not -3. So we're going to have an open circle at -3, and our arrow is going to the right because we want numbers that are greater than -3. Generally speaking, if it's greater than, it's going to be going towards the positives. Less than is going to be going towards the negatives. So because it's greater than, we're going toward the positive values. We are increasing our value. So this shows all the numbers that would be greater than -3. Again, open circle because there's no line underneath. We'll look at 2 more. So if we look at 11 and 12, I did kind of make those a little bit more challenging, just taking it up 1 notch, not too much. So I start by giving you 5 is greater than or equal to r. Notice how in all the other inequalities the variable was written first. This does influence the way the inequality goes, so it is usually helpful to rewrite the inequality so that the variable is first. So I flip my inequality, putting my variable on the left side. When you flip your inequality, you must flip your inequality sign. So when we rewrite this with the variable first, it's going to change to r is less than or equal to 5. Again, as we said before in the first example, whenever there is a line underneath the inequality, that means we are including that value. So we're including this value of 5, which means we have a closed circle at 5. closed circle at 5, and we want numbers less than 5, so we're going to go to the left. Less than 5 would be numbers to the left, going toward the negative half of the graph. So that's how you would graph number 11. Number 12 is also written a little bit different because there is actually a coefficient for our variable. So for our variable, I believe that's a p. It's backwards to me. Yes, it is. So we have negative p is greater than negative 4. So with this problem, we see this negative sign in front. Remember, when there's no number, there's just an imaginary one there. So this is actually negative p is greater than negative 4. Just like when we were solving one-step equations, to isolate the variable, we have to use inverse operations. When a number is written right next to a variable, that is multiplication. The inverse operation, or the opposite of multiplication, is division. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 1. When you divide both sides by negative 1, negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1. Positive 1p is the same thing as p, so we're left with p on the left side. And then negative 4 divided by negative 1 gets us positive 4. So we have p on the left side and 4 on the right side. Also notice how our inequality flipped. Whenever you are dividing or multiplying by a negative, you have to remember to flip your inequality sign. It's just a shortcut to having to rewrite the whole problem so that the coefficients are positive. So like if I were to move this to this side, this would be positive p. Move this to this side, it would be positive 4. The p would be on this side, so it would still read p is less than 4. But we're just kind of saving a little bit of work by just flipping the inequality when we divide by or multiply by a negative. That concludes the tutorial on how to complete the packet assignment on graphing and writing inequalities. Now we're going to look at the Khan Academy. I wanted to actually show you guys what it looked like on the screen, so I didn't do them ahead of time. I kind of browsed through them. Okay, so the first problem set I pulled up was from plotting inequalities, and they ask us to graph x is greater than negative 4. So we should have an open circle at negative 4, and our arrow should be going to the right toward the positive. So I will do that and show you what it looks like. So again, to get my inequality to switch, all I had to do was tap the button that one of them says, come on, can you focus? Yeah, you can kind of see it. So one of them says make the circle open or closed. I switched it to make it open, again because there's no line underneath. And then switching the directions switches the direction that the green line is going to go. Because we want numbers that are greater than x, we want to go toward the positive, which means our line should be going to the right. So that's the first example. The next example is very similar. We're asked to graph x is less than or equal to 3. Again, because of this line underneath that means equal to, we need to include the value of 3. So we need to make sure that our circle is closed. Again, I just tapped this first button, the second button, to make sure that it's closed. And then we want values that are, we want the values, to be less than or equal to 3. Since they are less than, you should be going to the left on the number line toward the negatives. So all the values that are less than 3 are going to be to the left of it toward the negatives. Again, if you need to switch your sign, you just tap this button. So ours needs to be going to the left. And that's it. The rest of the problems in that set were pretty much the same. So now we're going to look at the next set. The next set for algebra is writing the inequality from the graph. So let's see what that looks like. Okay. So we're given this graph, and it says, choose the inequality that represents the following graph. Please keep in mind I read that backwards, so I'm kind of awesome. So we have this graph with an open circle at 4, right? And it is going to our right, I believe. Let me verify, yes. It is going to our right. So that means we need the number 4. All of these have the number 4. We have an open circle. So because our circle is open, we're going to look for the inequalities that don't have this line underneath. So that's either A or C. So again, since we're going to the right, toward the positives, toward numbers that are greater than 4, we want to select the inequality that goes in the same direction. So it's going to be x is greater than 4 should be our answer for that one. Oh, I thought it was upside down. For this problem, we have a closed circle at 1. So that means we're looking at either B or D inequalities with the line underneath. Again, we're going toward numbers toward the positives, to the right, toward numbers that are greater than 1. So again, we want our inequality to show numbers greater than or equal to 1. So we see D has X is greater than or equal to 1. Always try to remember that the symbol is always going to be opening to the bigger side. Most of us learned that Pac-Man likes to eat the bigger numbers, that's to get more food, so Pac-Man's going to be opening to the larger side. So this is the greater than symbol, so it should be D. And that actually concludes our review on graphing and writing inequalities. If you have any specific questions about your particular problems on your problem set, or any of the other problems on the assignment, feel free to reach out. But keep in mind that the answers are on the back of the assignment, so I think you guys can figure it out. But if not, I'm here to help. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. If you have questions about your grade, what you can be doing over this school closure period to improve your grade, please don't hesitate to reach out to me through email, call me, text me, whatever you need. I've also been playing with Google Hangouts, so that's a way to video chat, so you can get more direct feedback if you like to show me the problems immediately and I can tell you how you're doing. So if you're interested in that, you can also shoot me an email or comment on Google Classroom or this video, and I will find you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for watching.